Hi, Northaven family and friends, and welcome to Northaven Voices. My name is Courtney Washington, and today I have the honor to interview Kathy Dickson. I probably shouldn't read that from the paper, maybe I should try again. Okay.
It was nice. That was a nice introduction.
Okay. So we'll continue. He can edit that. So Kathy, briefly okay, hold on. We're going to have to just pause and start over. Oh my gosh. Bob?
It's okay. He said just go ahead and he'll cut all that. So just start wherever you want.
Okay. So Kathy, what do you do?
Well, that is a very good question. Right now, I'm in transition. I have worked for the past 13 years as a chaplain at a hospital here in Dallas. And really with COVID, a lot of things kind of bubbled up, and I really realized how burned out I was from a lot of being in that context. There's a lot of sacred, wonderful moments there. However, there's also a lot of stress and a lot of compassion fatigue when you're with folks, that traditionally the chaplains are called in at end of life and with a lot of suffering. And when the volunteers and the families were not allowed in the hospital, it put that much more of a burden on staff. And we were doing a lot of staff care, but also that's when I realized my own self-care was pretty, it was lacking, and I just needed to step back from it all. So it's a big change for me. And I'm an advocate of Richard Rohr, and he talks a little bit about liminal space when you're standing in this in-between place. And that's where I'm at right now. So it's a big leap of faith for me to kind of just leave what I've known. But I'm excited. I mean, I think there's some real possibilities in the future, and I'm going to take a little while to just rest and relax. And actually next month I signed up for a 3-day silent retreat. And I love those, to just kind of try to discern and just, get the clutter out of my head and try to gain a new calling, really, or to change what that looks like. I have really enjoyed and always been intrigued with social justice. And from my perspective, I was raised kind of in a loving family, but it was a little bit patriarchal. And so I've kind of always fought against the machine. And with social justice, and when I went to school, I just really resonated with the feminist theologians and with all of that. And now with racism, I'm just realizing how profound all of that really is. And I just kind of want to do more of a deep dive into that. And I have no idea what that'll look like. Yeah. But it's fascinating to me. And I feel like it's an opportunity right now in the country to really kind of listen to each other and try to understand. I'm pretty proud of myself right now because I have been watching the RNC. Yeah. And it's been really interesting. I feel like there's parallel universes, and some of the things that are said there that have also been said at the DNC, but with totally different twists. So it's a really interesting time in this country, I think, with the division. And what saddens me, I guess, is that human nature, we're always going to have divisions. However, how to do it where it's authentic, but there's also just a civility, a decency there that, but I guess when you've got such deep wounds like either sexism or racism, something like that, it's so personal and it's hard not to get defensive. And anyway, so there was your first question.
Well, that was an amazing response. Thank you. So what are some of the things that make you happy? How are you going to do that with your new free time?
Oh, I love that question. Yes, that is a great question. I do I have recently discovered a YouTube called Yoga with Adrienne,
Okay.
and she is in Austin, Texas, and she started off just posting some yoga videos, and she's now got like 8 million followers, and
Wow.
it's home yoga. So I've been doing that in the mornings, getting up and lighting my candle and doing yoga, and it's about 20 minutes, and then I do 20 minutes of meditation, and that really kind of has calmed me and kind of set the stage for, whatever's next. And I also have a little dog, and I like to walk him around the neighborhood. And
what kind of dog do you have?
He's outside right now because he's a yapper.
Yeah.
But he's a multi-poo, and
okay.
He's a sweetie, but he's quite rambunctious. So, yeah, I like walking him. So it's really the small things in life. I really like gardening. Mm-hmm. It's too hot right now, but that is a passion. So getting my hands in the dirt has always been something that's been very therapeutic for me. Let's see. Mm-hmm. What else? Oh, I used to journal quite a bit, but since I started working, my journaling has so I'd kind of like to get back into writing a little bit, journaling. I always found that very helpful too. I love to read. But as I get older and my eyes get a little less, I've kind of discovered audiobooks. Okay. And like to listen. Sometimes on the way to work and back, I would listen to some of those books. And that was always a great way to fill some of that time. Let's see, what else? I don't like really cooking, but I'm trying to embrace that. And I'm gonna give that keto diet a bit of a go and see if I try that for a little bit just to change it up. But those are kind of some of the things that I'm trying to do to get renewed. Yeah.
Well, tell me about your passions. What passions do you have? You've mentioned helping people and during their time of need. What other passions do you have?
I've always been passionate about education. I just love learning. And so maybe part of this next chapter will be a little bit more of teaching, possibly. I don't know what that would look like. But I do love learning, although ironically, as I've gotten older, I'm finding myself being really challenged to be more tolerant about some things that I just don't agree with, and trying to educate myself on why somebody thinks that way. So that's really, that's a challenge that I'm trying to, like I said, watching the RNC and just really trying to understand where that philosophy, if you will, or how that resonates with some people. And just trying. So passion for me, education, like I said, I've always loved reading. And gardening, I think that's been a passion. It's something I'd really like to kind of delve into too. I also like, I actually, true confessions, I'm a bit of an addict with HGTV. I love to watch the transformations of these fixer-uppers, and then they turn into these beautiful homes. I have this fantasy that I'm going to get on the Property Brothers and have my house done. And so I do, who doesn't love a good transformation story? So
those are fun shows.
Those are, that's fun. So those are a few of them. And my kids, that's terrible. I totally forgot about my family. I have 2 adult sons and 3 grandchildren, and my mom is 8. My dad passed away last year, so family is very important. I have siblings. We're all relatively close. So spending time with my grandkids, being Mimi is my name. And so spending some time with them, which they're kind of busy. So it'll be interesting to see how much time they really, want to spend. Because now that I'm going to be free, I'm available. But I also want to guard that, because I don't want to become the babysitter all the time too, just because, we wouldn't want that when they're both busy people. So, but I love looking after my grandkids, but within reason.
Now, how old are your grandkids?
Let's see. Landon is going to be 6, and Quaid is 18 months. And then Jackson is 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Very
new.
sweet.
Yeah.
Well, what brought you to Northaven, Kathy? How long have you been with the church?
Let's see. That's a really good question. How long have I been with the church? Probably about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I went through a divorce, and amiable divorce, but we were just going in different directions. And he kind of kept the church that we had both been at for many, many years. And it was a more mainstream kind of conservative, and I was going a little bit more to the left.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd heard about Northaven, and ironically, it was very close to where my house was. So I went and visited a couple times, and the music and the preaching, it just, all of it was really moving, and I felt like it was home. So yeah, it's been a good fit. I really miss it right now. I really miss the community. I know online is a wonderful thing, but nothing I think can replace the actual presence of being with community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So 10 years. So that's a long time. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How would you like to be remembered?
Oh, wow. What a question. Whew, got to take a minute. Let's see. I guess first and foremost as Mimi and Mom. I mean, I think those, legacy wise, those are what are dearest to my heart, and nothing breaks my heart more than when my kids or family are hurting.
Mm-hmm.
So, being remembered as somebody that loved them deeply and was loved deeply by my family. So I think that would be number one. I guess after that, it's kind of part of what I'm struggling with right now, as far as some kind of imprint on the world to make it a little bit more just, a little bit kinder, a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so, airy fairy, frou-frou, unicorn out there. But I know that that's the North Star. I just don't know what it looks like, but I do want to help somewhere. And I whether it's, I have a friend, and she was helping with CASA, those, children that need advocates. Mm-hmm. And something in that realm, to kind of, but I think all my life I've kind of bounced around a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I'm not one of those that would have like this, 50-year legacy. It's just not who I am. So, except for my family, I guess, I've had them all my life, and they've had me. So that's probably the biggest legacy, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
you mentioned your family, and the close relationship that you've had with your family. What else are you most grateful for?
I've been giving it some thought right now about being in a country that is at peace. Mm-hmm. And I think a little bit of my anxiety these days is that, one of the things I've really loved about the U.S. is, in this democracy, there can be a transition of power that is nonviolent. And I'm a little worried right now that is a bit threatened. And it's such a gift, and it's so fragile. And I'm really grateful that, we can have people in power for 4 years, and then somebody else can come in. Because you see other countries in the world that don't have that transition that's smooth, and then there's all kinds of suffering and war and fallout. Mm-hmm. So I'm I'm grateful for, maybe even with this pandemic, there's been an awareness of how fragile that is, the democracy, and how it can be torn apart with so much misinformation and words and blaming and shaming and just all of that, Mm-hmm. So I'm just grateful to live in a country that has that, but I'm a little fearful that we've taken advantage, or that we're taking it for granted, and it could mm-hmm. be disintegrating a little bit easier than we think. And I just hope there's a resilience there for democracy so that, yeah, we really can have transition of power where it's not going to be so disruptive. Although I say that right now, that's about, political parties. Right now, I also understand and support peaceful protesting for sure. And then the misunderstanding that, they're all thugs and, all of that. It's just, I don't know how I got on that because it's not something I'm grateful for, but I'm grateful that we are in a country where you can peacefully protest. I mean, some parts of the world, that is not an option, and yeah, but it is an interesting time because I can kind of consider myself more of a moderate, but lean left. And I find myself really pulled now with these extremes. So where do I'm trying to work that out, really. But I am grateful that that we are not at war, that we are in a place where, yes, it's tough right now, but we're not refugees. I mean, there's a lot of parts of the world that are really hurting, and I know there's a lot of Americans, and I'm one of them now too that's not going to be working. So there's a lot of unrest. It's just it's not. I mean, I think the lessons of MLK and nonviolent resistance and all of that, I'm just really grateful that is an example that's been out there for us. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Well, Kathy, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. I've learned a lot of wonderful things about you, and I'm happy to attend the same church with you, and just thank you so much.
Oh, well, you know what? This has been really fun, and I still kind of don't know you, Courtney, so we got to get together and have
absolutely. Absolutely.
Maybe a cocktail. Are we allowed to say that?
Yeah, with our masks on.
That sounds good. Thank you. This is really fun.